Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Lisa Oligas. In this edition, FosterAdopt Connect. The charity has served families in 116 counties in Missouri and Kansas, impacting more than 9,000 lives. It has 21 different programs to support and strengthen families. Now, before we begin our discussion, let's take a look at their informational video.
At FosterAdopt Connect, our mission is to break the generational cycle of abuse and neglect by providing supports and services to foster and adoptive children and all of the families caring for them.
Each year, thousands of children enter the foster care system in Missouri and Kansas. The child welfare system is traditionally pretty overloaded, and so we know that there's gaps. So our mission is to find innovative programs that help fill those gaps so that kids can grow up successfully in their forever homes.
We're able to unite children with loving relatives, foster families, adoptive families, homes where they're able to begin the healing process through our programs like Extreme Family Finding and 30 Days to Family. We're also able to support those foster and adoptive families via programs like our licensing, our advocacy, our training, free clothing through our clothing closet and food pantry, as well as our behavioral interventionist program. And for youth who are aging out of foster care, we're able to support them via our Community Connections Youth Project, as well as our legal advocacy department.
A large portion of our staff have foster and adoptive experience. And so when you're able to connect with somebody who's walked the walk that you walk, then you're able to find resources and you're able to find the support so that you can continue to parent, love, and care for the kids that are in your home.
We started as a small support group for foster families, and now we're serving thousands of kids and families each year. Our work changes the trajectory of vulnerable kids' lives and allows them the very best chance to grow up to become happy and healthy members of our community.
When children are removed from their home, they experience trauma, and their parents likely experienced trauma before they had children. FosterAdopt Connect works with families to help break generational trauma and bring healing and restoration to kids, and the community can help. Joining us to talk about a special event to help the community understand the life of a foster kid is FosterAdopt Connect Branch Director Tom Furr. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us, Lisa.
This is a wonderful thing that you're going to be doing to share with the community, but I want to get a little background first about FosterAdopt Connect. It's not a new organization, but it's relatively new to Joplin. You're still kind of in your baby years here.
Yeah, so we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary of being in Joplin on St. Patrick's Day. Very exciting. We've been able to serve about 170 families in the last year, which is really amazing. You mentioned all of the programs that we have. In Joplin, we offer 8. And so we have prevention services, we have clothing boutique, we offer services for behavior intervention, and we also offer some recruitment services. And so just really fortunate. We've had a very warm welcome in Joplin, and we have amazing nonprofit organizations that we get to work beside. And we're just, really lucky to be here. Thank you.
So you yourself have your own personal experience with foster care. Would you share that with us so that, give us your perspective?
Sure. So my wife and I fostered in Jasper County beginning in about 2012, right after the birth of our first daughter. And we fostered up until 2016 when we adopted our oldest daughter out of foster care, about 3 weeks before she turned 18. And Raylyn is her name. She came to us when she was about 15 and had been in care for quite a while. She had some younger siblings in care. And I won't share all of her story, but we were just very blessed to get to be her parents for a while and then develop a relationship where we could continue to be her parents into adulthood, which, as you know, Lisa, you don't stop needing parents at 18. You need your family more and more as you grow and as you have children. And so my wife and I are lucky. We're 34 and we are grandparents. We have a beautiful 2-year-old granddaughter and a wonderful, chunky little 6-month-old grandson. And just really amazing to be blessed in that way. And then we actually, our youngest son, our only son, our youngest child, He is 6, and he came to us after we adopted Raylyn. So she got in touch with her biological family after her adoption and started developing a relationship, and was actually able to be a support for her older sister, and took in her nephew and had him for a while here in Missouri, and we got to adopt him over some time. And so right before he turned 2, we were able to get guardianship and adopt him. To keep him from coming into care. Raylyn was adamant that he not come into care in Texas, which is where he was born.
You mentioned you'd had like up to 24.
We did. We
foster kids?
fostered, like I said, for about 4 years, and we had around 24 kids in and out. And some of those were respite. They were short term, 4 days to 2 weeks. And some of those we had, like I said, Raylyn for 2.5 years. So really full gamut. We had newborns that we got from the NICU and got to bring home and foster for a short time, and all the way up to 15, 17-year-olds, and wonderful.
So life for kids in foster care can be challenging, and you want the community to see that. So you have an event planned.
We do.
And so tell us about that. It's called Journey Home Community Impact Bus Tour.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
A day in the life of foster care.
Yeah, trying to be, when you're choosing a title, trying to be descriptive as possible. So yes, the event is called a Journey Home, and it is a bus tour. It's a community impact event. And so as you alluded to, the removal, that is one of the most traumatic experiences that a child can go through, being taken away from home, even though it's done in their safety or in the name of safety, right? And it has to be done. It still creates a lifelong trauma, right?
Yeah.
Creates lifelong trauma. And so this event is designed to kind of highlight that and explain all the different nonprofit organizations that serve children going through that and following that all the way into adulthood.
So give us an idea of some of the stops that they'll
Sure.
make.
So we're going to start and visit Children's Division, which is the state organization that is responsible for removing and placing children. We're going to visit Children's Center, that is responsible for doing forensic interviews for children who have experienced abuse, and kind of getting to the root of what that is. And then we're going to visit Children's Haven, which is a drop-in center for kids that come into foster care and for whatever reason can't be placed immediately. It kind of serves as a drop-in center. We are going to go to Jasper County CASA, which is court-appointed special advocates, and learn about the services that they provide to every single kid in foster care in Jasper County. We're also going to go to the courthouse, the new juvenile courthouse, and get to witness a mock hearing of placing a child. And then we're going to visit Lafayette House, and then we're going to end at FosterAdopt Connect and learn about the 8 programs that we provide and some of those long-term outcomes for kids as they grow up and age out or get adopted out of or just into adulthood.
I mean, it sounds like there's a whole bunch of groups that help kids, and that's awesome, but there are also thousands of children in the foster care system. So there's always more help needed.
For sure. There's always more help, and there's always foster homes needed. In Jasper County, we have about 450 children in care in a year. And these organizations are all vital. Every program that they provide is vital to supporting those kids and making sure that they have the best possible outcomes for their future. And we're excited to get to highlight some of the nuances for the community and their supporters of those organizations.
You have lots of programs, and some of them even include prevention. Tell us how you can do that, because once a kid's in the system, boy, there's a lot of more red tape, a lot of harder steps. Is there a way to prevent kids from getting into the foster care system with maybe added supports for the families?
Absolutely, and prevention is so vital. So if you ever get the opportunity to hear Daryl Missy, the director of Children's Division at the state level, speak, he will tell you that Children's Division is a broken system, and that the system that is removing kids and placing kids in foster homes is never going to be able to solve that problem. And so prevention is key. And I had the privilege of hearing him a few weeks ago, and it's wonderful. He talks about prevention being key in community services, like our prevention community services, coming in and supporting families who are struggling to raise those kids. And a really interesting perspective is the state licenses foster homes and pays a monthly subsidy to get kids placed in those foster homes. Very expensive. And an interesting concept is if you take those same funds and you divert them to families going through those
Struggles.
hardships, and you're able to kind of lift them out of poverty, what work could be done around that family? And so FosterAdopt Connect is fortunate to be able to come in and provide those. And so we have some emergency assistance dollars for families who are experiencing poverty, whether that's being behind in a mortgage or a car payment or a utility payment. We can come in and support that. And then we also work to provide a nurturing parenting curriculum. And so we work on things like dignified discipline and trauma-informed care. And we're in the home every week, and 2 of those weekly meetings per month are focused on that lesson. And the first one is creating that information or providing that information. And the second one is a follow-up on how did that work. So when you worked on that dignified discipline with your child, what was that process? What did it look like? And then what can we do better in the future? And kind of just going to support that. And that's a full year program.
Yeah, because obviously those kind of changes don't happen overnight.
Right.
For someone to implement a new thing with their kid. The first time they try it, it might not work.
Right. And especially if in the beginning, they're struggling and they're behind on their mortgage and their utilities, and they can't even focus for the first 3 months of that until, we're able to get that stuff taken care of and get them stable, and then they can start focusing on, I do need some support and education. And get them in a place where they're receptive to that.
So we talk prevention, but you also have a role in trying to help kids with placement.
Sure.
You have a couple programs. One of them is the 30 Days to Family.
Yes.
So how does that work?
Sure. So that's one of our recruitment programs. And through that program, when a kid comes into foster care, when a child comes in, they go to a 72-hour hearing. We get to come in and get a seat at that table. FosterAdopt Connect, our 30 Days representative, comes in and meets with bio family, mom, dad, whoever was in the home with that child, and we start building a genealogy for them. And so we go out to at least 150 points, and we're contacting those family members, finding out if there's interest in taking placement, if there are any safety concerns, or if there are any other barriers, such as maybe the house isn't adequate or the income isn't adequate. And if we find a family member who's interested in taking placement, we start to do that home study process. And then we come back at the 30 days hearing and we present that information to the judge. And we say, Aunt so-and-so is interested, but she needs this support.
Right.
This is number 1 choice. And then maybe we have 2 and 3 behind them. And the court can make the decision to move that child from a foster home or another placement if they're in, like I said, Children's Haven, into that kinship home. And that really increases outcomes for that child. If the child does get to reunified with their bio family in the home, and they come back into care later, that kinship placement is going to be an option for them going forward, and they'll have a relationship there. Hopefully that kinship placement is going to be able to support that family going home too.
Is it kinship? I mean, I know
Sure.
they always usually try to seek a relative.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
Yeah, so we talked earlier about a child in foster care aging out and not having a support system. If the state doesn't do a good job maintaining those natural kinship supports early on in that child's life, they're likely going to disappear, right? And so those kinship relationships are so important. Like for all of us, we all have aunts and uncles and grandparents, but not all of us do, right? And so making sure that the state and other organizations like ours are doing a good job in keeping those maintained is really vital.
It's another connection to a family and a support.
Sure.
And if
Lifelong support.
And if mom and dad have another issue, that family can still step in and maybe go back and forth if need be.
Absolutely.
So that's the 30 Days to Family. But then you have one when children have been in the system for a while. And we hate to hear that, but it does happen. So tell us about that when it comes to trying to get that final adoption.
Yeah, so
Those
that's extreme family finding, EFF for short, extreme family finding. And that does the same thing with that genealogy work, but for kids who have been in care for 6 months and longer. And a lot of those children will have some sort of elevated need, whether that's a behavioral need or maybe they went through some sort of abuse or other sexual trauma and they need some elevated psychotherapy support and emotional support. Maybe they require to be in a home by themselves because of whatever safety concern. And so, those kids that do end up staying in care for a little bit longer, have those elevated needs, do need some additional support in finding a forever home. And so that they can, again, receive that lifelong support.
Yeah.
that's so important for quality of life. You know, the people in your life really contribute to happiness, right? To your happiness and to your sense of community involvement and your sense of belonging. And so just serving those kiddos to get those supports is really a wonderful thing in those programs, those recruitment programs.
Okay, so we know that kids sometimes are removed from a home and may not have anything to take with them. And so you guys have Sammy's Window. We're going to do a little journey there and talk to the folks who are operating it. But tell me how it got its name.
Sure. So Sammy's Window came from a family who was in foster care, a set of siblings that were in foster care. And they spent a lot of time in a store looking out the window for a family that unfortunately never came.
Wow.
And so Sammy's Window is our clothing boutique. It got its name from that. And actually Mark Hay runs that program in our Springfield branch. And his family is Sammy, who grew up looking out the window.
Well, we had the opportunity to visit Sammy's Window in Joplin and to learn about the services available at the location. Let's take a look.
It looks like any other clothing boutique, but everything here in Sammy's Window is free. It's just one of many supports offered to families by FosterAdopt Connect.
Yep, we have Sammy's Window, which is free to all of our families that qualify for any of our programs. And so whatever it is that they need in here that could help provide that extra stability with taking that child in, they're able to come in and shop once a month and get any of those items that they may need. When that kinship placement is created as well, we have our kinship navigation program that could come alongside, and whatever needs that they may have that our clothing boutique might not be able to offer or suffice, then we're able to come in.
Children can be removed from a home at any time, day or night, and may leave with few, if any, of their own belongings.
We have kids that come in that have nothing besides the clothes on their back. We actually had a family come in last week and all the kiddo had on was a dress and high heels.
We were foster parents in Jasper County for a few years, and one of our placements came in the middle of the night in the t-shirt that she had been sleeping in, and she didn't have things to go to school the next day. I couldn't take her into Walmart to get her clothes the next day because she didn't have appropriate clothing to take her out in public.
We mostly have a lot of stuff that we need, but we just struggle with like pull-ups and then newborn size diapers. We have everything in between, but those two seem to go faster than others. And then we struggle with getting hygiene items in.
Items most of us take for granted.
But there's some families that don't even have a toothbrush.
Raylan sorts through donated clothing and shoes, but there is a long list of things the community can donate that are always in need.
Shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothpaste, toilet paper even. We never get toilet paper donated, and that's families are, in need of toilet paper all the time.
They get big loads of diapers, but Sammy's Window is here to serve and support the families sharing their homes with relatives, children, or others in foster care.
Not just babies, no. Everyone comes in thinking that they can only donate kid clothing, but we also serve our foster kiddos' mom and dads. We serve the other kids in the home, and then also there's those teenage kids that are in foster care, and so we serve them as well, obviously. And so we take clothing from newborn all the way to, plus size adult clothing because everybody varies in size. It's like 7 outfits per kid, 3 pairs of socks, 3 underwear, 2 pairs of shoes, 2 jackets, 2 pairs of pajamas. So it's a pretty good list, but it's per kid.
It's not only about necessities, but shopping at Sammy's is a morale booster for the children whose life is in turmoil.
People are just really grateful, honestly. We've had kiddos come in and they were just so shocked that they were getting to shop and that it was free. And it's really great to see, there's been kids that were just so excited that they were getting new shoes. And so it's really nice.
Welcome back to Newsmakers, where we are focusing on the efforts of FosterAdopt Connect. While the hope is to reunite children with their birth families or find them forever families, there are times when children age out of the foster care system, and that can be rough if they haven't had the right family supports in their early years. The transition to adulthood can have hurdles. On average, youth exiting care without adult support face some grim statistics. 42% will be convicted of a crime. 20% experience instant homelessness, and 70% of girls become pregnant by age 21. Returning with us to talk about help for teens is Tom Furr, the branch director of Foster Adopt Connect in Joplin. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you.
So I spent years doing a segment on KOAM called Monday's Child, and there were quite frequently we introduced kids needing to be out of the foster care system, but there are times that they don't get that match and they usually graduate and become independent on their own. That can be difficult. Tell us what you're doing in your program that helps change these statistics.
Sure. Foster Adopt Connect in Joplin offers a program for 17 to 26-year-olds called Community Connections Youth Project, which is such a mouthful, or CCYP. So CCYP focuses on just that, creating a sense of community and connections for kids who spent time in or aged out of foster care or were adopted out of foster care. And like with our other programs, there is a emergency assistance fund that we can use to help with securing an apartment or repairing an automobile. We also help with employment, obviously, but really like career pathway identification. So not just getting you a job to help you get an apartment, but let's get you in a job to help you get an apartment and identify some skills there that you can use as a launching point to get into this other career pathway, right? And so really focusing on, again, those long-term outcomes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned 20% experiencing homelessness. That's 1 in 5. And so,
Crazy.
you know, when you have in Jasper County, we have 450 children a year coming into care, and obviously not all of those are aging out, but that's a pretty significant number of children in Jasper County becoming homeless. It's really staggering to think about that number. And they're 17, 18, 19-year-olds, right? And that is our future.
Yeah.
And so our program gets to come in and meet those individuals where they're at and help them get on a pathway to success. And one of the things that's really magical about that is we get to create relationships. And so for that program, our program managers are required to have lived experience, meaning they have to have been in foster care.
So they've walked in these kids' shoes. And
Yes.
does that really help the relationships, I'm sure?
So much. Our community connections specialist in Joplin, her name's Sylvia, and she was in foster care twice. I won't share any more of her story than that, but she is one of the most fierce advocates I've seen for these kids and can absolutely tell them, hey, you have the ability to do this, right? And yes, your trauma is impactful for you, but you can overcome that and you can use that to elevate yourself. And part of that, you know, helping them find their voice and helping them find their confidence. She does amazing things with them. It's really incredible to get to watch her work with these young people.
You seem really moved and passionate about this.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard for these kids because, I mean, my son's 21. He recently had a hospital stay. I mean, you need your parents.
Yeah, you do.
And so imagine being all alone at 17. It's 17 in Missouri.
Right,
that you could end up being all on your own.
Yeah.
And
not just on your own, but on your own after feeling on your own for a long time.
Right.
Like coming into care and being removed from your parents and likely your siblings and your extended family too. And then, you figure that out and then you get to step into your own adulthood and you get all of this freedom, but you're not necessarily equipped emotionally or mentally or physically, right, with the tangibles that you need in order to go out and find success. And so creating or having a program that can equip those individuals with some of those tools and those tangibles. They have access to our clothing boutique. And I didn't say this, but a lot of our programs we could really stack. So if you are a young person who is in foster care and you're a young parent now, we would love to talk with you about getting into this program as well as our clothing boutique, as well as into our nurturing parenting curriculums.
right, because many apparently do become parents. 70% of
Absolutely.
the girls
For sure.
have pregnancies and then may become parents not totally equipped to be a parent.
Absolutely.
If they've been on their own and didn't have the kind of childhood that one would say, oh, I didn't get this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know maybe the best discipline techniques or even the best childcare if they were possibly neglected.
Right, and I would imagine that if I had experienced those things, that I would very much feel inequipped, right? And very much feel like I do need help and support and probably feel a little bit afraid to take it. And so we're very fortunate to have those specialists with lived experience who can be that safe place and that listening ear to provide that support.
And you get a lot of donations, and you actually share them with other organizations that might also help, like Love and Grace, which helps the young women.
Helps those young women, and the Alliance of
out.
Southwest Missouri, who helps so many young families, struggling families, at-risk families. We've worked very closely with Children's Haven to provide some wipes and some diapers to children in there. And
It's always a need.
Always a
obviously.
need. Yeah, and we're fortunate to get to share so many resources and so many passionate community members in Joplin.
So we've talked a lot about that. You have other fundraisers or other events, awareness events you want to talk about besides the bus tour that we talked about earlier. What are some of the other ones coming up this summer?
So July 22nd at Just a Taste in Webb City, we're doing a swing dance fundraiser, a sip and swing, if you will. So we're going to have a VIP wine tasting from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., a swing dance lesson from 8 to 9, and we're doing a little bit of a blast from the past theme. So we're going to do a silent dessert auction, kind of like it's 1923, and it should just be a really fun time. Tickets are available on our website and on our Facebook. And then in September, we have a couple of events. We do a motorcycle poker run, and we're also doing a baseball game with the Northwest Arkansas Naturals and the Springfield Cardinals at the NWA Stadium. That's September 3rd over Labor Day. Tickets are $10, and so that's a really fun family night.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fireworks. The ballpark has been recently renovated. I've heard it's beautiful, so I'm excited to see that. We do a motorcycle poker run the following Saturday, the Saturday after Labor Day, September 9th, through our service area. So we start in Joplin, we ride up to Lamar and Stockton, and we stop at Cookies in Golden City for some pie, and then we end on the square in Neosho. And so we're hoping for 100 motorcycles. We would love any classic cars or Jeeps to come out, any groups to come out and support us. And then the last event I want to tell you about is a Tall and Small Masquerade Ball on October 27th. And so we're going to have, just that, a Tall and Small Ball. It's a safe Halloween event the Friday before Halloween here in Joplin.
Tall and small meaning kids are welcome?
Yes, absolutely.
Adults and kids?
Adults and kids, yes. So please make plans to bring your family out. 10/27, mark the calendar. We don't have any official marketing materials yet for that, but we will soon, so be on the lookout.
All right,
check us out on Facebook.
Yeah, let's remind folks of the big event that's coming soon, the bus tour.
May 12th, Journey Home Bus Tour, FosterAdoptConnect.org, or on our Facebook page you can find event details for that.
All right. Thank you, Tom, for telling us about all these possibilities and why folks can support your group, your charity. Thank you. Well, if you are interested in learning more, check out the Foster Adopt Connect website at www.fosteradopt.org. Now, that's Newsmakers. I'm Lisa Oligas. Thanks for watching.